Hey gang, I'm at Calvary Cemetery in Los Angeles. A beautiful old cemetery, a lot of cool monuments and a lot of cool mausoleums. So let's check some of them out. Mother and father, it says Gordon, Rosie Lee. Color image, you don't see that too often. That's Miller Lee Gordon, passed away in 1975. Interesting, a couple of busts here. Let's check that out. These are beautiful. Look at that. Husband and wife, father, mother. They've held up pretty good. Let's see if there's a likeness. This would be Jolie. Well, let's say a little bit of a likeness. Passed away in 1951. And mother Mary Lee. And let's look at her picture. She passed away in 1945 when World War II ended. Very interesting. The name is Ranger. Blanca Adams. Young man. This is probably his mother. Yes, mother. Beautiful angel here. And the father. It says Miller Adams, October 8th, 1904. And at the bottom it says beloved grandson Tommy Adams, July 13th, 1948 to January 12th, 1966. Marino. The crucifix on top. And the mother, very interesting picture. Let's see if we can zoom in on that. It's very high. And the father, handsome guy. I'm going to try and get another close-up of the mother closer. It's at about 10 feet. Full zoom. All right, let's go for a drive and let's look at some mausoleums. A little bit of history on Calvary Cemetery here, located at 4201 Whittier Boulevard, East Los Angeles. Now also called New Calvary Cemetery because it succeeded actually the original Calvary Cemetery, which was at another location. Now this cemetery encompasses about 137 acres and is owned by the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Los Angeles. When Los Angeles was originally surveyed and mapped back in 1849, its graveyard was at the upper end of a street called Eternity Street, and there At the lower end of Eternity Street was the first church in Los Angeles. And in between there lay a part of the town flanked by adobe houses, citrus and oak trees. Kind of had this setting, a setting that was perfect for the traditional funeral processions that they had back then, which were pretty big. They were very elaborate, and they were escorting believers to eternity. And that cemetery was named Calvary. All the important people around this area back then were buried at Calvary, but as Los Angeles swelled with settlers, so did Old Calvary Cemetery grow in size, and soon more crowded conditions led to the founding of this new, even bigger cemetery in 1896. Now, that property of the old historic Calvary Cemetery was put to other uses. We've seen this before. Graves were moved, we have to suppose. You wonder, were all the graves moved? Probably not. Seen this over and over, and sadly, the historic old Calvary Cemetery was built over, and much of it now is occupied by a school. Well, as we continue to mosey along here, we find ourselves back at the mausoleum. I'll call it Mausoleum Row, and on the left we spot this beautiful white marble mausoleum. We see the name Guasti at the top, and the door is open. We get permission to go inside, and we enter, and we are amazed at what we see. It's white Carrara marble everywhere. Well, this is the mausoleum of a man who went from penniless immigrant to wine king. Secondo Guasti was an immigrant from Piedmont, Italy, and he would establish himself here in a big way. He was in search of a better life, of course. He immigrated to Panama at age of 21, and after being in Mexico, San Francisco, Arizona, he finally came here to Los Angeles, where he found work as a cook at a hotel owned by an Italian pioneer family. And he married his wife here, who happened to be the proprietor's daughter, Louisa, and established a modest winery together. Now, seeking land on which to grow grapes, Guasti explored the sparsely inhabited town of Cucamonga, and he was convinced that its sandy soil was ideal for grape cultivations. And according to legend, when he was in the valley there in the early 20th century, he supposedly dug a 24-foot hole into the earth. He found water, and he said, you know what, this is the place for my master plan. So in 1901, he pooled the resources of a bunch of investors, mostly Italian immigrants, and he purchased 2,000 acres of land there at 75 cents an acre. Now, he was mocked by the local farmers, but soon after, the Italian Vineyard Company was born. He created his own town, newly incorporated Italian workers that included institutions such as fire station, a school, market, bakery, boarding houses, a doctor's office. And the town served as a catalyst for Italian chain immigration. So you got to give him a lot of credit. As we conclude today's episode, we now enter Calvary Cemetery's very large community mausoleum and mortuary, which is massive. It spans across about 18,000 square feet. And if you come here, it is a place where you will see some of the most beautiful stained glass and hand-painted ceilings. As we move on and we climb the stair, we're going to be entering a very large, amazing chapel. And I might say that at this mortuary and the entire cemetery, it's basically a who's who of notable people, including, of course, a lot of famous actors and actresses. And as we walk through here, I'll just name a few. One is Brian Foy, a famous film producer and director. Between 1924 and 1963, he was pretty active. Dolores Costello, a silent film actress. Her first husband was the actor John Barrymore. She's the mother of John Drew Barrymore. John Barrymore is here. Hal Roach Jr., son of the famous Hal Roach, who produced Little Rascals and other odd but wildly successful productions of the time. And Irene Dunne, another famous actress. Jack Dragna, he was a mafia guy, the Black Hander, who was active in Italy and the United States. Lino LaBianca, of course, who was murdered by the Manson family. His wife, by the way, Rosemary, her ashes were scattered, unknown. Lou Costello, of course, right? Abbott and Costello, and who would forget Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein? Jack and Nellie Reagan, Ronald Reagan's parents. Mary Philbin, another actress of the silent era. Of course, she was famous 1925 film The Phantom of the Opera opposite Lon Chaney. And Ted Healy, vaudeville performer, he was the creator of the Three Stooges. And Elaine Hammerstein, who was a film and stage actress, who sadly died violently when she and three friends were traveling at high speed, and they were coming around a hillside road, had a head-on collision, and their car flew down the hill and tumbled down, and they were all trapped and killed. So a lot of people here, and thanks for coming along today. This is a great place to visit.